What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Anthony Sain Show. This is, of course, your host, Anthony Sain, here with my guy, man, Kenny Stubblefield. I know Kenny is the only person that y'all see on the screen with me, man, but I got to give a shout out. I got to pay homage to the third member of our team, man. He's a part-time host of the show, man. You might know him from the Daily Grind. He gets up early in the morning to make sure he's on this show every day. You might know him from the other shows that he does with his company. I can't remember the name of his company right now, but you might remember the shows he does with that. You might see his footage in the Grizzlies locker room or in the press conference, because he is the only person that actually posts footage. Everybody got a phone out recording shit. He's the only person actually posting videos in the locker room. You know what I'm saying? You may know him. Where else you might know my boy from, man? I don't know, man. Y'all gonna stop stealing my boy stuff too, man. Y'all stealing the man quotes out of his mouth, all that type of stuff, man. But you might know him from saving Memphis one event at a time, man. One public service at a time.
One public service.
Yeah, he's not here today, but we're talking, of course, about my guy, my man, Paris Sharkey, who is not in the building. Paris is all good, man. I told him yesterday, because we were trying to figure out recording time. He was like, man, okay, do it. I said, all right. I said,
all right, you're gonna get that intro.
I said, you cool? We roll without you, man. Long y'all trying to buzz me out, man.
You're gonna get that intro. You're gonna get that intro.
I ain't gonna lie, man. There are not many things. I'm not gonna say there are a lot of things that make me proud. Like I do celebrate even small things in other people, myself, all these type of things. And I am extremely proud of the work that Paris has put in this particular season with the Grizzlies. Like, hardworking dude. He's a young married man. He had a job transition this year, still grinding. He has a full-time job and still covers the Grizzlies very well. Like I said, at the games, in the locker rooms, if he could do more, he would do more. He's maximizing his time, doing a great job. Also proud of Shamaria Wiseman with Asylum Media Group. Did a great interview with Tamika Whitmore, her first on-camera interview she's ever done with anybody. Did well, man. We had no clue she was doing it. She came with a fully finished video product. I mean, I'm not mad at her for that, man. She took the initiative to get that done. Because there was a lot worse ways she could have got that done. And she had a great interview with Tamika Whitmore. Tamika Whitmore, of course, former University of Memphis Tiger women's basketball player. Came through my era. I took a class with her when I was at the University of Memphis.
Yeah, she was a baller. She was when we were in college. She was like the queen of Memphis basketball during that time.
Yeah, she was super cold.
And
she talked about. Go ahead.
Yeah, she's getting her jersey retired on March 1st. So it's a big week, man. So that's coming up in like 2 days, I think. Yeah. So she's getting her jersey retired. It's crazy, man. It's super cool.
She has some interesting things to say, because she came around during like the very early years of the WNBA. And she said that she was kind of offended, like, I don't really take this WNBA thing serious. It just seems like a meme. It seems like a parody. Like, it was like the different color. She was like, the different color basketball. It just seems like it's a gimmick. And she said she wanted to play in the ABL, which is another women's league, instead, because it was more serious basketball in her opinion. But she said that since then that she's highly impressed with what the WNBA has become and where it's going. Great interview with Shamaria Wiseman, with Tamika Whitmore. Like I said, former University of Memphis Tiger, ladies basketball player, getting the number retired. Go check that out on Bluff City Media YouTube. Also, Kenny Stubblefield, I ain't gonna lie, I'm proud of myself, man. I haven't even told you about this. Anytime that people reach out to me and they want me to be a part of anything, like if it's like, can you come speak about this, or can you come talk to my class, or talk to these little kids about what you do, all that type of stuff, it's always overwhelmingly humbling to me, right? You know what I mean? And young lady on Twitter, I can't remember her name. I'm horrible about that type of stuff. But she invited me out to be a part of a panel with other sports journalists. I think Sharon Brown from the Memphis Flyer, Paris Sharkey is going to be there, and Shamaria Wiseman are all part of this panel. We're speaking to a group of kids. Some big thing they're happening at East High School tomorrow. It's like some kind of luncheon and all kind of things they're having. And I'm excited to be a part of that, man. And also, my good friend Ina Esco is doing something for Lamont College journalists and, broadcasting students at Lamont College. And I'm on that panel with her and my boy Brink Wilson, who came on the show before, other people as well. Like, that kind of stuff really, that I love that type of stuff, bro. Like, to think that somebody thinks enough about you that they want to have you speak to other people is always an amazing thing. But another person who does great work in the city of Memphis is my good friend. He doesn't probably know he's my mentor, but definitely one of my mentors, Doc Holliday. just really laid down the law on the city. The city today, Doc Holliday spoke out about Gilbert Arenas is his show, and Gilbert Arenas' show is kind of strange because I'm a fan of what he does and how he does it, his delivery, his style, all those type of things. Even the cast of guys he's got on there, I actually enjoy watching them. But I agree with probably nothing that they say.
Nothing.
Everything they say sounds dumb as shit. Like I don't agree with anything they say. But we had this conversation. We were talking about Christian Ingram, Chris Ingram, who's the host of No Bluffing podcast. You can catch here on the Bluff City Media Network every Monday. The time's gonna be different. I don't know what time it come on.
Yeah, just catch it when it's on.
Put your notifications on. But
yeah.
I was saying this about Chris, how Chris says things that I don't particularly agree with, but the way that he puts them out there, you have to acknowledge what he's saying. Like you have to listen to him, you have to hear him out, and it's just good conversation, whether I agree with Chris or not. And that's something. The same thing with Gilbert Arenas. Like they say some of the wildest. I'm not gonna compare Chris to them because the stuff that Gilbert and them say is just flat crazy. But basically, they said something about, they were talking about Jaren Jackson Jr. in this contract. And I haven't even seen the video, but I just know how it goes, especially after I heard Doc talking about it. I could just see how Gilbert Arenas was looking in the face.
Oh, absolutely.
See how Nick Young was looking in the face. I know Kenyon Martin was looking crazy. I know the look he had on his face when he was talking. I just know how this conversation went, right? So they basically were saying that the Grizzlies don't have the money, that Robert Perry, owner of the Grizzlies, does not have the money to pay Jaren Jackson Jr., and they should do whatever they have to do. I'm sure a lot of this is sarcastic, a lot of this was joking. But they were saying that the Grizzlies need to do whatever they have to do to not pay Jaren Jackson, including paying the police to set up Jaren Jackson Jr. and also getting Ja Morant and Desmond Bane to tank the season so they could shut it down. They would have to shut down Jaren too, to prevent him from getting the postseason award. And it's all these crazy things, man. And it's Zach Kleiman, Robert Perry needs to pay the NBA owners to get them not to vote for, get the other teams not to vote for Jaren, for just all this crazy stuff, right? And I think the thing that triggered Doc the most was the fact that they were talking about that the Grizzlies just need to get out of Memphis altogether, right? And Nick Young made some comments saying that there's nothing in Memphis but Beale Street in the hotel with the Ducks, right? That type of stuff, right? And Doc was like, yeah, man, because you come to Memphis, you stay in the hotel that they put y'all
with the
in.
Ducks.
It used to be the Peabody. The Peabody used to be the hotel for the away teams. And then you don't do anything else. Like you don't go out, you don't venture out into the city because of course that's all Memphis is to you. That's all you've done is played, got into bed, and went home. But it was hilarious, and I'm not going to spend any time sharing my thoughts on this because y'all already know my thoughts on this. And when Doc speak on it, he's out there, bro. Like, go check out Doc's Twitter feed. Go check that out, Doc Holliday on Twitter. Y'all know the business. Y'all know how it gets down. My opinion actually ain't valid because Doc laid that joint down. He had the hoodie on inside, so he was dead serious.
That man went like trapped in the closet.
Y'all, yeah.
That man went trapped in the closet. Part 5, part 6, part 7.
Yeah, when you see Doc with the hoodie on, with the curls under the hoodie, man, you know it's going down for sure. But yeah, man. Check that out. I don't really have much to say. It's a bunch of nonsense talking. Those guys are in the business of saying things that generate conversations and that get people going. So because you say something like that, you're either going to rally up a lot of people who agree, who think, yeah, the Grizzlies do need to get out of Memphis, or you'll rally up people who don't think that Memphis needs to lose their NBA team, or both. So it's just most of these shows these days are just saying things just to shock people and to generate conversation. I get it. Not my style, but whatever. But yeah, that's all I have as far as.
But this is not the first time. It is funny, like as much as they, talk about the Grizzlies and Memphis and all this kind of stuff, they seem to talk a lot about the team, and they only seem to highlight the negative stuff, right? Like they just a few weeks ago, Kenyon Martin went on a tirade about
John's dad,
about T. Morant being kicked out of the FedEx Forum. You've talked about this specifically. I want to get your thought. We haven't discussed this, right? Like, and we don't have to discuss it long.
Yeah, go ahead.
What are your thoughts? Like, you've talked about Gabe. If Gabe were to ever do anything sports wise, like what kind of a sport parent you would be on the sideline?
I'd be unbearable. Like Gabe, Gabe had a game. Gabe plays, private school, elementary school ball. And Gabe is a heavier kid, right? So Gabe, just the fact that Gabe can get up and down the court a little better than he could third grade year when he played, like that's a win for me, right? You know what I mean?
Right.
But Gabe set a screen for his point guard in the game. It looked beautiful, bro. I wish I had recorded. Gabe set a screen, and Gabe's a big body, so he set the screen. His guard came off the screen. Gabe popped out to the 3-point line, catch and shoot, splash from 3, right? So, bro, you would have thought it was a game winner. You would have thought we were up. They put us up 10. Like, no, it was. I think we were down 12 or some shit. But you know what I mean? Gabe hit the 3, and I'm, you know what I'm saying? I'm hyped. You know what I mean? And all that type of stuff. And even
Hell
in football, when I'm being an offensive lineman, it's not a skill position. I find things to get excited about with him. And like I'm at his soccer games. I got a vuvuzela. I'm being obnoxious as hell. I was at a football game and pulled the vuvuzela out. And the commentator I was sitting underneath the commentator's booth. So he was talking through the glass. He was like, oh, this ain't a soccer game. And he's talking shit to me in between him being on the microphone, right? I said, hey, well, it's going to be a long day for you if whether it's soccer or not. If this horn bothers you, look at this scoreboard, it's going to be a long day for you.
Yeah,
and we're beating the hell out of his team. But with that being said, I get it. Then again, I don't. Because something that people have to understand, one thing that Kenya Martin said in that particular thing that I disagree with Doc about when he said it is that one of the things that people have to understand is that because he is Ja's dad, you have to handle things different. You know what I mean? Doing these things in high school games or even college games is one thing, but when you're on that world stage playing in the NBA and all eyes are on you and people are identifying you, people do know that you are Ja's dad. There's a different set of eyeballs, and you're going to be looked at a lot differently, and you have to kind of hold your stuff in. You know what I mean? It's kind of like I think that if we diagnose Fred Wells as crazy, we'd be correct. Like if we said that Jalen Wells' dad is nuts, I think we would be 100% correct. Like I think that would be a proper diagnosis, right? But he's not. You have not and will not see him doing anything crazy at a game because he knows how to be reserved and just kind of keep that stuff to himself. And if I want to get my shit off, I'll call Anthony Sain and he'll record me and I'll say crazy shit and people love it. Like he knows there are ways to get his shit off. LeVar Ball, we never saw LeVar Ball doing anything crazy at a game. Like when you put a mic in front of his face, yeah, he's doing all this stuff. He's doing this, doing that. But we never seen him like, you know what I mean? Like even with his son not making an All-Star game, we haven't even seen him saying anything with a mic to his face about that. Like we just have to have shout out to my guy LaPrada on Facebook. Had to have a level of decorum when it comes down to those type of things, bro. But yeah, it's just I get it. I totally get both sides of it, bro. I'm kind of torn about it because I don't know what I'll be if Gabe is like in the NFL. Like, I mean, so I'm saying this as a guy who's never been there. So I've never been in T. Morant's shoes. But if I was, I don't really know how I would handle it. But from the outside in, looking in, I think I know how I'd be, but I don't know. You know what I mean? So I can't really speak too much on that at all. It's not.
It's tough.
Yeah.
I have a 13-year-old daughter who plays volleyball, and it's difficult.
Oh yeah.
This past weekend was the first.
I'm
an
obnoxious sports parent. I am. I'm a very obnoxious sports parent, so I get that. But go ahead.
Yeah, I've tried hard to be less obnoxious, but I talk, and it's tough because you're so invested in every part of what your kid is doing out there that I recognize sometimes the lack of ability to control, like when things go good or when things go bad, you're like, you freak out. But I don't know. I do think that it is a weird conversation. It's a weird line to cross. And I do wonder if at times, maybe reining some of that in, especially on the global stage that they're on would be appropriate. Right.
And I get the emotions, man. I get all that type of stuff. But like we talked about the other day, how we have to start holding Ja accountable. Like, we can't be, I'm not going to try to tell this brother how to parent, but it's like we can't buy into the whole, oh, they fouling them, oh, they cheating them, all that type of stuff. Man, just go play basketball at the end of the day, man. Like when you're done doing all that, the call is already made. Like they're not going to reverse
it.
Yeah, they ain't reversing it. None of that stuff is happening. So I get it, you know what I mean, but I don't get it for sure. Yeah. But it's been a good conversation so far. We're about to take a break, Kenny. When we come back, man, we're going to talk about the game that was the other night. The Phoenix Suns are taking on your Memphis Grizzlies here in FedEx Forum.
Bro.
Great game, man. Battle of the big threes in the FedEx Forum. We'll talk about that and more when we come back to the Anthony Sain Show. We will see you guys in a minute.
are they getting enough credit for their wins? We know that they get docked for their losses, but are they getting enough credit for the wins that they had in their out of conference?
No, I mean, it's an easy answer of no. And I think, we can scold people for that and say that they're wrong or whatever, but it's just so far removed that people have trouble dipping back into November and December.
We were playing football then, Right, we were playing regular season football then.
Exactly. So people just have trouble dipping back into that and kind of putting Memphis on the pedestal that they kind of deserve for what they did. And it's unfair. Like, I mean, it's not fair because they beat those teams. But at the end of the day, like, it's just par for the course for Memphis.
Tune into On the Bluff with Christian Fowler and Gabe Kuhn every Tuesday at 12 p.m. on the Bluff City Media YouTube channel.
I'm no math person, but I think the odds of him at least, I think he's the favorite for defensive player of the year as of, I don't know after that game, but as of yesterday, he was. Odds of him making a all-NBA team at this point, I just feel like are
could be plus odds. Yeah.
Very, very high.
Grizzlies need him to make this so that they can offer him more money than other teams can. But because they got him at such a bargain on his second contract because of his injuries and whatnot, I believe that his next contract, if he doesn't hit an all-NBA team, his raise that he can, the extension that he's eligible for is actually less than what other teams can offer him as a free agent. So you need him to hit this. And I know $350 million is a lot of money, but you need to be able to say, like, hey, we can offer you more money than they can. I know you probably want to be here anyways, but let's not let it be about the money.
Tune in to The Daily Grind with your host, Luke Hatmaker, every Monday through Friday at 7:30 a.m. live on the Bluff City Media YouTube channel.
All right. Welcome back to the Anthony the Sain Show. Like I said, the last game that happened since we recorded the show, Kennedy Stubblefield, the Memphis Grizzlies took on the Phoenix Suns. Phoenix Suns, a team that has a losing record in the league, and your Memphis Grizzlies just don't lose to teams with a losing record, Kennedy Stubblefield. That is an amazing stat this season, too.
That's an amazing statistic.
We've only lost 3 games to teams under 500, and none of those happened outside of freaking November, I believe. I believe all those games happened in either November or December. It was Brooklyn twice in Chicago very, very early in the season. So I don't think we've lost to a team with a winning record, definitely this year. I think it's been since November for real. But your Memphis Grizzlies did win one of the better games I've seen in this season and just regular season games, period, man. Not just because of how it played out, not just because the Grizzlies were down 4 with 19 seconds left in the game, right? Not just because of that, not just because it went to overtime, not because of the Ja Morant game winner that tied the game up, or that crazy three-pointer he hit to cut the game to 1, or the tip in by Brandon Clark, or the alley-oop to Jalen Wells, or the dunk by Jalen Wells, or any of that type of stuff. The three-pointers in overtime at Jalen Wells, not just because of that stuff, but strictly because of the star power of the game, where you had Kevin Durant, who's one of the greatest of all time, in my opinion, the greatest, most diverse scorer in the NBA history. Kevin Durant, you had Devin Booker, definitely in the prime of his career, and Bradley Beal. We did not see the best version of Bradley Beal on this run with Phoenix, but Bradley Beal has been just a phenomenal player throughout his run, especially in his prime. His prime years were in Washington, so we didn't really get to see a lot of him. But he was a great player for that Washington team.
He had a little bit of a throwback in this game, though.
Oh, he was hooping tonight.
He was hooping. 43 played 43 minutes, which is just wild. That Bradley Beal, who's been injured pretty much all year, played the most minutes I think he's had all year. And
hooping. He had like 20-something points, was a dog in overtime after Devin Booker retired. And for the rest of the show, I just want to say this, man, just kind of piggybacking off the whole Gilbert Arenas thing. I just think as a fan base, we have to be appreciative of what we have, bro. Like, we have a big 3 on this team of guys that we drafted. We get so excited about transactions and trading for guys and signing guys and free agency and spending over the tax and all these type of things. And I've always thought that it's absolutely crazy that we pretty much almost some of the perception from our fan base is that we are penalizing our GM for absolutely nailing the draft. You know what I mean? If you think about it, in the time since and I'll say this as well. I'm going to include Jaren in this discussion because even though Zach Kleiman was not the GM of the Grizzlies when that draft was made, for all intents and purposes, Zach Kleiman was the GM at that time that draft was made. Chris Wallace was not in charge of the draft that year. Just giving y'all some inside baseball. Like that draft was conducted by Zach Kleiman and other people in scouting. And the Jaren Jackson Jr. pick was a Zach Kleiman pick. Ja Morant, Desmond Bain. You went to a podium and you selected these guys on draft night. Yep. And you have 3 guys that are phenomenal players. Is it fair to ask, does that combination of guys make sense? Yes. If you want to say a team where you have a big who's not a rebounding big, not a screen setting big, who basically plays his game like a very big small forward, so to speak. Jaren has a nice handle, but it's not an elite level handle. He's not like Paul George or KD or somebody with the ball. But he's a guy who can get to the basket, doesn't post up a lot, can get to the basket, outpower guys, has this weird, wonky ass floater that he's just been dominating guys with this year. All NBA stats say that Jaren Jackson Jr. is taking some of the hardest shots in the NBA, like the most difficult shots in the league. But he's a phenomenal scorer. He can score from 3. Huge defensive guy on blocking shots and now steals this year. He's put up very good steal numbers as well. Then you have a guard who's a 6'3" guard, cannot shoot the ball from 3 very well at all. I want to say he was 1 from 11 the other night, but he hit the one that count, Kenny Stubblefield. Super athletic guard, Ja Morant, insane court vision, not really a shooter. His probably 80-90% of the shots that he takes are from within the paint, whether that's a layup or a floater or a dunk. And then you had Desmond Bain, who's a 6'5" guard, limited wingspan, fair defender, not really a good defender, can knock down, he can make any shot on the court from all levels. But it's a lot of questions about how that unit works, right? Those 3 guys as a unit. Because typically you want your guard to be a guy that can knock down shots as well. You want a wing defender who's with range and height or whatever. And you want your big to be somebody that's more of a rebounder, screen and roll type guy. That's typically the formula for winning the NBA, right? And typically that wingman is your leading scorer. He's the guy who's, your LeBron James, your Kevin Durant, that type of guy, right? That's the winning championship formula. It's definitely not a point guard that can't shoot the ball. And typically, when you talk about championship level teams, the guy that's your point guard, if he's the best player, that's not a championship team, except for the case of a Steph Curry, who was a generational shooter. So if you want to have conversations about whether our big 3 makes a lot of sense, I'm willing to let you have the conversation. Like, I understand those type of things. But it is truly a blessing to have 3 guys of that caliber that make you feel like if these 3 dudes are on, I don't give a damn how y'all splitting the minutes. I don't care if Gigi's playing. I don't care if Jake LaRavia is playing. I don't care if Zach Edey's not setting screens. I don't care if Zach Edey ain't playing. I don't care if Brandon Clark is starting. I don't care if Scottie Pippen Jr. is in the backcourt with y'all. If those 3 guys are cooking like we know they're capable of doing, nothing else really matters for this team. And we saw glimpses of the other night. That Phoenix team, their big 3 came to play. Our big 3 came to play. And we came out victorious in that game. And we saw some of the joy back from Ja. Jaren had fouled out in that game, but he was absolutely killing Phoenix before he fouled out. And when he fouled out, Ja and Desmond Bain just, came in right behind him and did his thing. We do a lot of infighting in our fan base about this and the other. But just don't get so caught up that you forget that we are a very good team with a very good young core of guys that are at their oldest 26 years old, and that's Desmond Bain.
Right.
26 years old, bro.
It's crazy.
Like the Boston Celtics just won their first championship, and it wasn't until Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum were 28. You know what I mean? And if that's the case, John and Jaren have 3 years to go before you even set any type of bar where they should be as far as the championship is concerned. Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen didn't win until they were 28. Most guys don't win the championship at all until they're 28 years old. And that's just, if you just look at it, that's just what it is.
Right.
But it's exciting to have a young group of guys. They played their asses off the other night. Have we moved a lot? There's been a lot of talk about the goalpost of expectation. Yes, the goalpost of expectation has changed a lot of people. I don't have championship expectations with this team. When you decided to go young again and just trust your young guys and get all obstacles out of the way to prevent you from playing your young guys, you're clearly not you could win a championship. They could win it. They're talented enough to win the whole thing, but they didn't make an all-in move, and I'm not mad at them because NBA is not over this season. There's surely going to be a few more. I know they try to say that nobody watches games and the NBA is declining, but I think they'll be around for a few more years, bro. And I'm excited about that. Like I'm fine with that whole thing, because I believe in these three guys. I believe in the future of this team, and I believe that everything will be fine as far as those guys are concerned. And I know you probably feel the same way, Kenny. Like we sit back and we either participate or we view some of the conversations people have, and it gets crazy. It gets really crazy, you know what I mean? So what are your thoughts on that? We'll wrap up the show pretty much after this, but what are your thoughts on some of those type of things?
I just think you talk about the big three, and you talk about, if you look at the NBA and big threes and go copy and paste mode, like what should it look like and all that kind of
Ours
stuff.
is kind of wonky. Ours is
wonky. Ours is a little bit off, right? But it is the only thing I can tell you is that you look at when those three guys are on and engaged, they are as wonky as it might look on paper and what their skill sets are and what they do well. It works. Right? Like the guys, when they are locked in and they are engaged in the game, it's wild to me to see a guy like Ja Morant, who very clearly, one of the big things I took away from that Phoenix Suns game was it was one of the more poor shooting efforts from Ja that we've seen in his career.
Man was 1 for 11.
Like it was really not good. But what I liked about the game is that it didn't impact what he did in other areas of the game. His engagement level was on 10 during that game. He was passing the ball well. He was defending well. He was doing a lot of things that impacted winning until the moment where he was needed, and then he just went call 12 time and went bananas and led the team to a victory. I love, while it might not look like the way that everybody else's in past history big three looks like, it's undeniable how talented all three of those guys are, and when they are engaged and in tune with each other, they're a very tough team to beat. Because how do you stop? I'd love to challenge anybody that knows basketball or has played basketball to go out into your hoop at the house and practice backing somebody down or going left, opposite hand left if you're a right-handed person, opposite hand left, and then doing a floater with the left hand, your opposite, your
any of that
offhand.
shit Jaron does.
Practice. It doesn't look awesome, but it goes in and he's dominating with that shot. Like it's undeniable the talent level that these guys have. And the fact is that, like you said, man, they're 25 and 26 years old, right? Like I think that there is an engagement level that the Grizzlies need all three of those to have going down the stretch. And while it was a pretty inefficient game for Ja Morant, when he was needed, man, he came in. He went 12 time on him. And so I just, and that was playing against, and again, the Phoenix Suns blew up their championship built roster, their roster that was going to contend for championships, to bring in their big three, right? They're Kevin Durant, the Devin Booker, and Bradley Beal moves.
A roster that was built like the championship mode, where you have your guard who's a lead guard. He wasn't a point guard, pretty much a lead guard who can shoot threes. He can defend a little bit. He can get to the basket, score from anywhere on the court. Devin Booker. You had your two dynamic 3-and-D wings and Cam Johnson and Mikal Bridges, and you had your screen and roll big and DeAndre Ayton. That team just needs to grow up, and they need another point guard. So that team really had all the pieces. Now, I'm not knocking them to go and get Kevin Durant, but trading in your already lack of depth that you had to go get
Bradley Beal.
Was asinine, and these are the things you have to. It's a thin line. It's a thin, like you can make moves. The Marcus Smart move was disruptive to this team. It kind of, I'm not gonna say it set anything back, but if you had not gotten bailed out by finding the Gigi Jackson, finding the Vince Williams, and the biggest steal, finding the Jalen Wells, that Marcus Smart trade, you would have felt that trade more than you do now, for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, you said that, like I said a few weeks ago on the show, you and Chris Harrington talked about that last year, where you were talking about, if Marcus Smart isn't able to do these things, the Grizzlies are screwed.
We would have Jake LaRavia, David Roddy, Zaire Williams.
Right. But the fact is that they found Jalen Wells,
Yep.
right? And so
they found
and
Gigi,
again,
they found Vince, yeah.
And again, that's the beauty of what this front office has done. Now, again, I agree with you. Our expectations have changed, and what we expect out of this team, they doubled down on their youth, and I can't blame them for that, because I do think that this youth movement, I think what Jalen Wells does, what Vince Williams does, what Zach Edey will do, I think will be good for this team.
Yeah,
Will be it's NBA level, but
for sure.
We'll see in the next couple of years, man.
We will see in the next couple of years. We will see. We'll see how it plays out, man. But until then, just have fun, y'all. Don't acknowledge the small numbers of people who are idiots out here that have all these stupid things to say. Because I'm telling you, it's more of y'all responding about it than it is actually people who are saying this dumb shit. So keep those type of things in mind as well. But Kenny, we about to slide about this joint, man. For Kenny Stubblefield, this is Anthony Sain. My boy Perry Shark can keep saving the world, man, one day at a time, my guy. We got you. Much love to you. We will see you guys next week, and we are out.
Thank you for listening to the Anthony Sain Show. If you enjoyed this episode, leave a rating and a review wherever you download your podcasts. Also, like and subscribe to Bluff City Media's YouTube page. For comprehensive coverage of Memphis sports, head over to www.bluffcitymedia.co and find out how you can become an insider. We will see you back here next week.